Hi, I'm Pam Petty, Associate Professor of Literacy at Western Kentucky University. I want to tell you a little bit about a project that we did with Shelby County last summer. We were approached by Carrie Fannin, Associate Superintendent of the county, to put together something to address reading deficiencies of students in 8th grade and 10th grade who were reading significantly below grade level. College and career readiness is dependent upon those students being more proficient in reading and writing and other literacy skills. So Carrie came to us and asked us, laid out this whole plan. And the plan was that he would take 25 teachers teaching middle school, high school, all different backgrounds and content areas. And we would work with those teachers to get them ready to spend 4 weeks in the summer, 3 hours of instruction per day, 5 days a week, with a group of these students from 8th grade and 10th grade. We'd put together a curriculum. We'd make sure teachers were proficient in teaching that curriculum, and we would monitor it, measure it, and report on it. During that time, we work with many school systems and have far more requests to work with systems than what we can actually provide. So what we want to do now is do a quick reflection. This is Daniel Super. He is with us with the WKU Center for Literacy and has been very involved in both providing the professional development, observing teachers, and working with the data collection that we did in this particular project. So what he and I are going to do is reflect a little bit for you on what worked and why it worked.
I would say the first thing that I noticed about Carrie's involvement with this project was his leadership. And whenever he approached us, he asked if they could come from Shelby County to Western, and that's a 2.5-hour drive. And it wasn't just him, but key officials in the school and administrators. And he really took charge and put Shelby County's best foot forward to Western to make the case for us to buy in and say, yes, that you have your ducks in a row. We'd be happy to lend our expertise. And that's not necessarily something you see from people in leadership positions. He was very prepared, and he had the buy-in of all of his staff, and they made that trip to us.
He was very clear in where he wanted to go and what he wanted to do. And he needed some guidance from us. And I think that was part of why the partnership worked so well, because he was open to ideas that we had that we felt would make it stronger. Mm-hmm. So he didn't come with us with a, let me hire you to do this and you just do what I ask you to do. Instead, he said, let me tell you where I want us to go, and together, let's see what we can pull together to make this happen so that these students are better prepared.
I agree. And what's incredible to see, and when you can actually work with a school system that does this, you know that they're going to make positive impact on the teachers and the students in that system. And that is when we were there on site, and this is, like I said, 2.5 hours, we're making these trips every week. And Mr. Fannin wasn't in his office delegating responsibilities. He was in the classrooms. He was in the professional development sessions. He was a problem solver in that if there was a student problem or a teacher problem, it got taken care of behind the scenes as quickly as possible, because when you're in the trenches, you have the pulse of what's going on. And he wasn't, like I said, just sitting in his office waiting for other people to solve these problems. He was in the trenches, and he was making sure that any problems were taken care of immediately.
And I think that comes from really understanding kids. Mm-hmm. It comes from understanding curriculum. It comes from understanding teachers, and it comes from understanding what it takes to make real change happen. Those were the things that really stood out to me. Whenever we reached a barrier of any type, he was a phone call away. Mm-hmm. He was there at the end of the phone. It was an email away. He was at his desk and available to help us move forward.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't just leave it be once it was over. He was communicating with me back and forth when we collected all of this data, and he wanted to know what impact. He could see the impact with his teachers and the students as they continued in their school year the next semester, but he wanted to know what quantitative impact they had, and he was intimately involved with the data collection procedures and with the interpretation of that data, so he could present to his teachers and school board, hey, this is what we did with this program. This is the change that we were making.
So if you want to know what we said when Carrie Fannin called us again and said, hey, how about a year two? We did so well, we think we can do better. We immediately said yes. We'd actually cleared a space on our imaginary calendars that when Shelby County called again, when Carrie Fannin called, we would respond. And we have a meeting set up in February to move forward on that. As I've worked with many very fine educators and very fine administrators, and I count him among the top of all those. Thank you.